What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Iron Fist series premiere. I've been looking forward to it so much. Snow gives way, and this is probably pretty much what I was expecting from the opener for Iron Fist. And part of that is because I've kind of gotten, after watching Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, there's kind of a system about how this first season of these Marvel Netflix shows works. Most of the time, it's like the first episode is spent building up, kind of building up story, showing us who this character is, introducing a lot of the characters that are probably going to be main characters for a little bit, and then the next two or three will probably be just sort of building, just building on the story. Next one will probably be a little bit more story on what happened after the plane crash. Either that or the third episode will. But at some point, I know we're going to get that story. I know we're going to get the story of how he came to be who he is and all that stuff. But for an opener, this was pretty good. It was enjoyable. It was exciting at times, and on top of that, it's got a lot of mystery going on. Like, you don't really know who to trust at times. You don't really know exactly what to think about the entire situation. But I like where it's going. So first of all, I do want to say, just from a review standpoint, if you've never seen my other Netflix show reviews, generally what I like to do, I like to watch as many as I can, and then after I can't watch anymore, then I upload all of the reviews that I've done all at one time. So you may see 3 reviews at once or 2, depends on how much time I have to binge watch. But I just want to put that out there, so it's not going to be like you get one and then I upload it and then I watch the next one, then the review. It's generally watch, review, watch, review, watch, review, and then upload. As far as the show goes, I really like what they've done so far with just how they're handling Danny coming back. Because I was a bit worried hearing the premise about the show, drawing comparisons to Arrow. Because if you've seen Arrow, kind of a similar premise. A billionaire family goes off, disappears, son and his father disappear, and then the son returns after 5 years. And so they welcome him back, but of course he comes back as this vigilante who all of a sudden can fight crime and all that stuff. And so it sounded like a similar premise, this billionaire owner of a company returns after presumably being dead, and he's a martial artist now, and now he's coming back. But the big difference here, which I really like how they're taking advantage of this, is it's 15 years that he's been gone. He disappeared as a kid, and so now he's coming back. They're not sure if it's him or not, because 15 years is a long time. And on top of that, you can grow up and start to look a little bit different. It could be anybody. You could look like anybody at this point. And so they're using, like I said, full advantage of that. They're having his old friends not trust him, not believe that he is who he says he is. He doesn't have any other living relatives, so they can't do a DNA test. He didn't do fingerprints because he was 10 when he disappeared. So there's no way to prove it's actually him. And he's struggling with that. He's struggling to sort of fit back into society because nobody believes that he's actually Danny Rand. So I like that premise. I like what they're doing with it, and I hope it continues to be, not the entire season. I feel like at some point there will come a time where it's like, oh look, everybody, Danny Rand is actually back. He's actually alive. We found some sort of proof, some sort of DNA test compared to something he had when he was a kid. So I am curious to see where that's going, but I also feel like it's probably not going to stretch out over the entire season. As far as his 2 friends, I say, because Ward isn't really his friend, but the 2 kids that he knew back when he was a kid, brother and sister, Ward and Joy. Joy is definitely, looks like she's leading up to be the main romance for him. So I feel like that betrayal at the end, I don't really think it's a true betrayal. I think Ward just said, if he ever shows up again, here's what you do, and told her what to do. But Ward is definitely, he's a prick. I don't know who this actor is, but whoever he is, he's got a great face that just always looks like he's on top. He always looks like he's in control of every situation. And so whenever Danny starts messing with him, whenever he starts ruining his plans and ruining his organization, he's going to have that face that you just love to look at, where it's just like he's upset, and now all of a sudden everything's falling apart. And it just, you love to see that look on his face, because he's just got one of those looks to him. I don't know what it is. Some actors have that look. You're just like, yeah, I want to see you get your comeuppance. So I'm curious to see though how much of this plot that he has going on with the Rand organization, how much of it is his plot and how much of it is his father's plot. Because everybody's saying, oh, Harold Meecher, he's dead, and then all of a sudden Ward just goes home and goes into this strange building, and there's his father still alive. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what the whole plan is there, but it definitely is pretty curious to see just what exactly is going on. What is the plan? They're talking about some sort of expansion deal with China, and they're talking about how, oh, look, this Danny Ward lookalike shows up right as we're about to do this thing, and what are the chances? And I am kind of curious, what are the chances that this would happen? Is it truly just coincidence, or is there something else going on with Danny's return that we don't know about yet? So definitely looking forward to seeing more there. There is one little thing in this episode that I'll talk about really fast that didn't really go anywhere, but I feel like is just showing us, I guess, a little bit about Danny and who he's become since he left. This other homeless guy who just finds him in the park one night, starts talking to him, starts, oh, look, you got an iPod? I got an iPhone. You can find anything on the internet. And so it's just kind of showing him stuff. And at first I was wondering if he was just going to be a little bit of like an exposition tool. But he kept showing up and he kept talking to him. I'm like, oh, is this going to be kind of like a little friend that he has, while he's homeless for these first probably 4 or 5 episodes? But then at the end of this episode, he's just dead. He, I assume, died because of overdose. Um, so I'm just like, well, what was the point of him then? Exposition, and now he's dead. But then Danny, I guess, has like this little ritual whenever somebody dies. And so he has this little saying that he says. I assume that's going to come into play a little bit later. And then on top of that, he like pulled up his sleeve and there was a symbol of a raven on there. And we saw Danny doing some martial arts stuff and a raven flying into the city earlier. So I don't really know what exactly all of that means. I assume as we go on that will start to have more meaning, but right now it seems like a big mystery. And honestly, I could say that about most of the stories. A lot of it is a big mystery, but this one, it seems kind of pointless right now, and so I'm hoping it will have a point later on in the season. It's not something that's just going to be swept under the rug like, oh yeah, remember that homeless guy? Yeah, that meant nothing. And then on top of that, we have another story building with this martial arts instructor. She's more like a self-defense trainer, but it seems like, I saw some of the previews and I saw her in it quite a bit. So I feel like she's probably going to help Danny and help him fight whatever he's got to go up against. And she's probably going to be a pretty bad fighter too. So I'm looking forward to their team up and what they're going to do there. But it is kind of interesting just seeing her and how she reacts to all of a sudden Danny comes up. He's like, hey, do you need some work or do you need some help? She's just like, no, I already have a guy that cleans up. And so he just goes in, he's trying to talk to her, and she just keeps brushing him off, but then she does see him fight a little bit whenever Ward's guards are coming after him. So I wonder how their relationship is going to grow from here. And I also wonder, because it's also a woman, I'm wondering if there's going to be any romance there or if it's just going to be between Danny and Joy. And that is the final thing to talk about, of course, Joy. Like I said, I don't think she's actually in on whatever Ward's got going on. I think that her drugging his drink at the end, I think probably was Ward's idea. Him telling her, look, if he ever shows up again, just drug this, pour him some water, drug it, and then, we'll take him to a mental hospital. That way we don't have to hurt him or anything. So whenever she accepts him in, I will say that I did not expect this out of her just because she seemed like, of the two, she seemed like she was much more, I guess, accepting is the closest word I can think of. It's not quite accepting. It's more like she's not as diabolical as Ward. Like, you can just tell by the look on his face. Everything he's doing is just, he's been thinking about it. It's like cogs turning in his brain. He knows what he wants to do next. Joy doesn't seem like that. She seems like she's just, part of the business. It's just what she does. And so seeing at the end how she just completely accepts him in, she starts talking to him about, oh, Ward's more black and white, but I'm a lot more open. I actually believed it. I was like, yeah, okay. And so whenever Danny all of a sudden is like, what did you do? I'm like, holy crap, I did not see that coming. It definitely adds a little bit more layers to her character, I guess. And I think it just adds a little bit more. What does that mean? Is she actually a part of this? I don't. Me personally, I don't think she is, but it could be. You never know. But as it ends, he ends up waking up in a mental hospital. He's chained down to a bed, and they probably think he's crazy. And I don't know how he's gonna get out of there, but I assume he's gonna have some sort of way to get out. But like I said, it could be next episode is him talking to some sort of doctor at the hospital, explaining everything that happened to him after the plane crash. Because we have to find out at some point. We have to find out his story. What I really hope, though, is that I just want it to be where we don't just get the story. We don't just get an episode that's just him explaining what happened. I would really like it if we kind of got a little bit like Arrow, where we have stories still progressing. We have Danny doing stuff in the present while they're showing us bits and pieces of what happened after the plane crash. Just because I feel like if you waste an entire episode on what happened, it's almost like, well, what happened in our main story? Now I'm glad we know the backstory, but I would like if our actual story, our main story right now in the present, progressed while we're also learning bits and pieces about the backstory. So, I don't know, maybe it feels like all of the Marvel shows have done this. All of the Marvel shows have had that episode where it's like, oh, here's how he became who he is. Or she, if it's Jessica Jones. So I would like if they changed it up just for this one. Probably not, but fingers crossed. As it stands, though, I'm really looking forward to this show. It's been a long time coming. I've been seeing the previews for a while. I'm really glad to finally be able to get into it. So, that's about it for this episode. If there's anything I missed, let me know. We can talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Iron Fist reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.